Good afternoon, everyone. We're very excited today to launch our new IMI Big Data AI Hub seminar series. We've worked hard to line up a great set of speakers who will be sharing their thoughts, expertise, and insights around big data, AI, and emerging technologies, and how these things are changing the way we live and work. And today we're very excited for our very first speaker to have Erin Kelly with us. She is a CPA, a data scientist, and a leader in her field. She'll help us understand how to use AI to predict sales. Looking forward and trying to predict sales and what will happen is increasingly challenging, especially in times of uncertainty, which we appear to be in now. There's an abundance of uncertainty around us. So how can AI help? And so today Erin is with us, and we're going to find out how AI can help with forecasting. So please join me in welcoming Erin Kelly, CEO of Advanced Symbolics. Erin?
Great. Thank you, Irene. Hello, everyone. And thank you for having me. Just as a little bit of trivia, I'm also a U of T alumnus. So I graduated from U of T. Won't say what year, but it was a while ago. So very happy to be back at my virtually anyway, back at my alma mater to talk to you guys today about forecasting. Now, my examples are not all sales because I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So just to get started and to get us in the mood, here's a little cartoon you can read about data science. I have some of these throughout the presentation, ones that I think are particularly true. I find that this is one that I like to use because it reminds me a lot of my customer interactions. People always think if the data says what you want it to say, then it's good. And if it doesn't say what you want it to say, then it's bad. And as you go on in your careers, you will find that increasingly, even as accountants, right? When the numbers look good, you're a hero. When they don't, you're not. So before I get started into the meat of the presentation, I wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction. Why should you listen to me about forecasting? What do I know about predicting the future? I'm going to show you a little trailer. In 2019, TV Ontario sent a documentary film crew to follow me and to follow several market researchers and pollsters to see who could predict the 2019 federal election. Indeed, if anybody could predict it. Everybody had to give their forecasts in advance. I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler before I show you the trailer. Our company came in first. I will show you the results after the trailer. Everybody else, well, the other two companies that came in second and third were also AI companies, and the human pollsters, forecasters were quite well behind. In fact, didn't even come close according to the documentary. So I'm going to show you the trailer now, and then I'll show you what the results were of our AI Polly's prediction. I hope you can hear the audio.
Traditional polling has struck out on several recent election predictions.
We're going to win the White House. What did I miss? What did I miss? How could I be?
What if there was an AI that could predict the outcome of an election?
If ever a bombshell hit a Canadian election campaign, it happened this week.
What was she seeing that everyone else in the world was missing? She can see patterns that we can't see ourselves.
Does that mean you are ready to conclusively call this election?
So the documentary is called Margin of Error. It aired, as I said, in 2019, but we had to give our predictions ahead of the election. Here is how it spelled out. So the seat count for the Liberals in the 2019 election was 157 seats, which you see in the middle column there. Polly predicted 155, so off by just 2 seats, well within margin of error and way ahead of anybody else. The Conservatives, Polly, they came in at 121 seats, and Polly predicted 118. You see there on the right. And this was broadcast on TVO. We had to send, as I said, our prediction in ahead of time. And then we were off a little bit with the NDP, but we got all the others correct. And the NDP was only off by 8 seats. When you think that there are over 350 seats in the country and that Polly is able to get all but 2 of them right, obviously she knows what she's doing in terms of prediction. So that's just to give you a little bit of a background. Our company has done over 30 elections and referendums now, including Trump and the BBC. and the Brexit, and Polly has never been wrong, ever, since we've gone commercial. We've been profiled, mentioned on the BBC and Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Fortune, etc., for our forecasting and predictive ability. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how to do forecasting and, you know, what customers like to call prediction, because as a CPA, as an accountant, I think this is really, really key to your success. And I know there are people on the call who aren't accountants. Don't worry. Our AI has also done COVID prediction and continues to do COVID modeling for the government. We won that contract a few years ago, also doing that very, very accurately. And I'm going to show it. So I use some of those examples as well. It doesn't matter whether it is sales or it's disease, what have you. The principles of how to do good forecasting are the same. There's just certain concepts you have to get, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, I really think this should be an entire course for CPAs, but I think this will be a good introduction for you. So what I hope you will get out of this course, out of this lecture, there are two types of people that do prediction. The first one looks like this, and the other looks like this. And of course, what I want you to take away from this, at the end of this discussion, you will look more like the ones on the right-hand side than the ones on the left-hand side. What is the difference between the two? Well, a fortune teller is looking at you as an individual. You go and you see the fortune teller and she says, Sarah, you look fantastic. Or Sarah, you're going to meet the person of your dreams. You're going to live to a ripe old age, live in a mansion, be rich, what have you. You leave her tent, you get hit by a truck. The fortune teller was wrong, and she's got nothing else to back her up, except maybe she'll be right maybe 5% of the time, and those are her regular customers. The data scientist, same thing. You go in to see the data scientist and you say, I'd like to get a life insurance policy, or the actuary, and they say, Sarah, it's fantastic. Your parents lived 102. You don't smoke, you don't drink. We're going to give you $1 million life insurance policy. You leave their office, you get hit by a car. What's the difference? The actuary has 100,000 other people like you, and they have done their homework, they have done their science, and they know they will be right 95% of the time. 5% of the time, people get hit by a car, they pay it out, they still make billions of dollars. Okay, so all that to say, everything that we do in forecasting and prediction is probability based. So you're always going to have some that are wrong. But if you do it properly, you will be right most of the time. So when you are doing forecasting, there are three really important concepts that you need to keep in mind at all times. The first is understanding your metric, or what we call the target. Your metric never changes. That is really important. If you change your metric, you have to change your entire formula. Okay, you're starting from scratch, and it doesn't take like one day to make a formula. It takes months to make a good prediction formula. So you want to make sure you get this right. You want to make sure that your boss or your board of directors or your customers are aligned on what your target is. What is it you are trying to achieve at the end of the day? Once you understand your target and it never changes, you have to find the measures that will help you predict your target. Measures are leading indicators. And when I say leading, that means we don't have 50 of them. Okay, we have one or two that are really important. And measures have certain characteristics, which we will explore in this talk, that make them good measures. The measures and the metrics are obviously separate. The measures have to be independent of each other, but causally dependent on the metric. And they have to be separated by time. Okay, so the measures, because this is prediction or forecasting, the measures must happen in a point of time before the metric in order for you to use it for prediction. That's what the time part is, separated in time. What you can't measure, so we have measures that lead to metrics, but we also have other things, other bits of information Those are levers, and it's important to understand the difference between measures and levers. Not that levers aren't important, but they have characteristics that make it so that they are not good measures. And I will give you some examples of those in our talk. How do you find the right measure? How do you know? Well, there is a concept called attribution, which I will talk about also in this call, that will help you to discern a good measure from a bad measure. And then very important, which I hope you will understand by the end of this talk, keep your formulas simple, not because it's easy or it's the lazy way, because it's the best way to get a good prediction. You will be very tempted, and customers and bosses and everybody will want to throw lots and lots of data at you. Hey, we've been tracking all of these things for 5 years. Less is more when it comes to prediction. When we did the election, we often have 1 or 2 measures that we then compare against past data. Okay. So how do I sum it up? Measures must be independent of each other, but correlationally dependent to the metric and offset in time. That's basically what I've just said. Measures are leading indicators, so they must lead, they must come before, and they must be important. So let's talk about the difference between metrics and measures, because it's perhaps not as easy as you might think. And so in the space of 1 month, I'm a subscriber to The Economist magazine. And in March of 2021, they ran this article. India seems to have suffered surprisingly few deaths from COVID-19. And as a data scientist, I read this and I thought, oh God, something's gone wrong with the Indian forecasting models, because it does not make sense that India would, for some strange reason, be unique in the world with few deaths or cases of COVID-19. If you read the article wasn't actually raising that alarm bell at all. The article was, oh, why does India have so few deaths? Well, maybe it's because the sunlight and the heat in India kills the virus. Maybe the virus is killed by sunlight. There were actually people saying, well, Indians are so exposed to germs that when a new germ comes in, their immune systems are just superior, and COVID can't survive there. And that is always raising alarm bells for me when people are trying to explain the data, when it's probably most likely that the data is wrong, or that there's something wrong with your forecasting model or your data. Okay. Unless there is a reason why, unless you have a leading measure or an indicator to say why India would be different, you should assume there is something wrong. And sure enough, a month later, April 8th, this was the headline in The Economist: India is recording more cases of COVID-19 than any other country. This is in the space of a month. How do you go from hardly anybody having it, which is what this article was saying? And it says if you look at the subheader in the first article, what explains its apparent success? This is often a bad habit that people have of explaining something that, instead of verifying, okay, explaining faulty data. And then you see the subheading here: South Asia is becoming the hub of the pandemic. Now, lest we think that this was a problem with India exclusively, we had the same thing going on here in Canada. This is an article from April 13th, so exactly the same time that India was having miraculous results. We see COVID-19 hitting Manitoba seniors less hard since March 1st, the latest statistics suggest. And then a month later, 2 months later, no, a month later. So the first one was April 13th, the second one, May 27th. You see the date line here. Manitoba just became the worst COVID-19 hotspot in all of North America. So how do you go from doing a good job to you're the worst on the continent in the space of a month? There is something wrong with the modeling. Okay. And we had a lot of problems with modeling in COVID. And I can't even say in the early days. This is 2021. So this is a year and a bit into the pandemic. So before I go through and show you what some of the difficulties were with forecasting COVID, I'm going to bring up, it's time for a poll. And the poll is, and you guys can all vote on this in your app, which of these measures would be a good predictor of how many COVID cases we might have in the future? COVID test results, vaccination rates, neither of these, or both. I'm going to bring up the poll, we'll launch it, and you guys can choose. And when I see a good participation rate, we will go through it. Remember, we're doing prediction. Okay, so, oh, we're still going. Come on, guys, come on. Okay, it looks like has everybody voted who's going to vote? Okay, so first place is both, followed by COVID test results. So the correct answer is neither, which came in third place in the poll. So why is, oops, I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay, I'm going to close it. I did it right. Why do I say neither? So models are specific to the metric. The metric is your target. What is it you're trying to achieve? If you have the wrong metric, you're going to have the wrong measures. So let's look at an example here. If test results plus the vaccination rate equals COVID cases. Now, I am going to propose to you that COVID cases is the wrong metric. Okay. But let's look at if COVID cases are the right metric, what is wrong with these particular measures? Well, test results, you've already got COVID by the time you test positive, so it's not separated in time. In addition, not everybody is compelled to get a test. A lot of people game the testing. Like I know people who say, oh, well, I really want to go to this event, or I really want to go on holiday, or I really need to get this exam over with. So I don't want to take a COVID test and then I have to not go to school. I'm sure some of you are resonating with this right now. So COVID tests can be gamed, so that makes them not a good measure. But even if you did randomized controlled sampling, you walked around the campus and said, give me your nose, we're doing a test, and you could get people to comply with that, it's still too late because you already have COVID. And we know that the contact tracing didn't work. And we also know that the incubation period for COVID was about 4 days. So by the time you take a test, that means you have symptoms. You've already probably given it to all your friends and family. So it's not good at telling us a forecast. It might tell us how many people already have it, but it's not going to tell us how many new cases we're going to have. Okay. Now, well, I'll go through what could work in the future. Vaccination rate. Well, if you want to reduce the COVID cases, a vaccination rate might work, but however, we know that the vaccination actually did not prevent COVID. It might have slowed it down. But as we got more and more, Omicron and all of the other things, the vaccination rate did not allow us to predict with certainty how many COVID cases we would get. Okay, so measures forecast the metric. Measures must be independent of each other, but correlationally dependent to the metric and offset in time. So vaccination rate with a different metric might have been better. But what happens, the big question for me is, are we trying to reduce the number of COVID cases, or were we trying to reduce the number of people who end up in hospital and die from COVID? Because that is a completely different measure and formula. Okay. By the way, measures can be adjusted. Metrics should never change. But here I'm going to say, what would happen if we had changed our metric and the metric had instead been hospitalization from COVID? Well, if you're trying to reduce hospitalization from COVID, you have different measures. Instead of vaccination, because vaccination again, doesn't necessarily keep you from the hospital, and we couldn't compel everybody to do it. The problem also with vaccination is it became the target. That was the other thing I forgot to mention. Vaccination became the target, and when vaccination is the target or the metric, it cannot be a measure. And I'm going to explain why that is in a minute. So hospitalization from COVID, you would be then focusing your money and your focus on the COVID treatment, because COVID treatment doesn't have to come before, well, it comes before hospitalization, but it doesn't come before you getting COVID. So you don't have to prevent COVID. People have the symptoms, which is very measurable. You can't measure people who are going to get COVID until they have symptoms, which is why the test results weren't enough. But COVID treatment, once I'm coughing up a lung, if you give me treatment and that stops me from going to the hospital, then that is a good measure for preventing and predicting hospitalizations from COVID. Because if I know the treatment is 95% effective and I can get it to people on time, then I know how many people will not be coming to the hospital. Now, how many people have COVID? I can do that with the wastewater instead of testing, because it is randomized controlled. I don't have to get people can't game it. It's detected earlier in the wastewater. So if you can tell people in this neighborhood, people are more likely to have COVID and it's going to go around. But the other problem is you're using the COVID wastewater not to prevent hospitalization per se, but to know where to bring the treatment. If you know that a bunch of people in Mississauga have COVID early on, and it comes before them needing the treatment, then you can make sure you have enough Paxlovid or Evishield in that neighborhood at those pharmacies. You're alerting doctors. You're also telling people you're more likely to have COVID if you live here. Now, this doesn't work for rural areas. Rural areas are less likely to have big COVID outbreaks, but also you can use randomized controlled testing in rural areas if you really want to be very ambitious about it. So changing the metric. Now you'll realize our metric kept all through COVID, right? 1 minute it was, the government would say we want to reduce hospitalizations, but then to reduce hospitalizations, we weren't doing the right things to reduce hospitalizations. We didn't get the treatment out fast enough. We didn't have a treatment until very recently. And when we did, it was very hard to get it. They didn't make the treatments widely available. They still don't make them widely available, but that's what you have to do to reduce the hospitalizations. Getting vaccinated is not enough. The other problem is that we made vaccination the metric, and I'm going to show you in a moment. You cannot have the measure being the metric. Once the vaccination became the goal, you could no longer use it to predict COVID outbreak. And that's called, we'll go through that in a minute. It's called Goodhart's Law. The other mistake of making COVID the goal is that making vaccination the goal is that people felt that once they were vaccinated, the mission had been achieved. And as we know, the vaccines wore off when we had more types of Omicron coming out. The vaccines were less effective, but everybody felt, hey, the goal was to get vaccinated. And so then people became less tolerant because they didn't know what the target was, what the goal was, and the government lost sight of things. The vaccine was supposed to be a measure and not a target. Okay. So measures have to happen before the metric, before your target. They have to be something that you can't game, like the testing or even like the vaccines. It has to be something that you can't game. That's why the wastewater data is better than the nose testing. It's why we don't have the nose testing being a requirement anymore, because it's just not a good predictor of anything. Measures must be independent of each other, and you should always test your measurement hypothesis and be prepared to revise it. If it's not helping you to predict things, then you need to change your strategy. You need to change how you do things. So mask wearing. So here's another one that it's kind of current right now. Is mask wearing a good leading indicator for COVID spread and for you getting COVID and for COVID cases? Yes or no? And I'm going to launch the poll. How do I launch this poll? Yeah. All right. By the way, this is feeling very much like religion and politics. I don't mean it to be. Okay, so it looks like the answer is yes. Unfortunately, no. The poll said, I'm going to show the results. The majority of you said yes. No, it is not a good leading indicator for COVID spread. Okay, I'm going to explain why. This is, again, listen, I'm vaccinated, all that stuff, right? This is not political, just science. All right, so why is it not? Right, measures must have causal dependence. Okay, so if I add mask wearing, and I put closing venues in here too, just as another example. The problem with mask wearing is it doesn't actually have causation to COVID cases or spread. Mask wearing does not prevent me from getting COVID. It might prevent me from giving other people COVID, but it's very hard to measure it. Now, like assuming everybody wears their mask properly, which they don't do, right? So how do I measure wearing a mask? Are you putting it over your nose? Are you wearing it around your chin? All of that kind of stuff. But even if you were wearing it properly, it doesn't prevent me from getting COVID. It might prevent other people in the room from getting COVID, depending on a few things. But it's hard. It's not a good, clean measure as a leading indicator. Closing venues, we have no idea what that what that does. Okay, we couldn't measure that. So these are good levers. It doesn't mean that mask wearing isn't good. It's good. It's not good as a leading indicator because of the difficulty in measuring it, and also because it's not a slam dunk. And you want, as I mentioned, to keep your model as simple as possible, which means taking out levers from your model, or treating them as levers and not as leading indicators. So you can use them as weights, but you don't want to use them as a leading indicator. You want leading indicators that are clean, easy to measure, predictive of you getting COVID, not predictive of you maybe giving somebody else COVID. And it's especially difficult because even if you say everybody here was masking, we don't know if they were masking properly. Remember, it was always don't have a cloth mask, use this kind of mask, you need an N95 mask. It was very hard to measure, so it wasn't good as a leading indicator, mainly for that reason. But it is a lever. So you have to, because you want to keep your measures lean and you want to have just one or two of them, or as few of them as you possibly can, you want to not be distracted by things that are not easy to measure, not slam dunks, not highly predictive, and you classify those as levers. And if you become a manager, it is up to you to say, no, I think that's a lever and not a measure. Okay. So the metric, again, is the target you're trying to forecast. Which was our metric? Was it getting COVID cases to zero, as we see in China right now, not going too well? Zero positive COVID test results, was that the goal? Was the goal to lower hospitalizations from COVID? All of these things will require different measures, different inputs, different strategies. So when people say, hey, AI is going to, replace your job, no, this is the important part of the job, is figuring out what it is you are trying to achieve. You would be amazed at how difficult it is to do. And politically, it's more expedient to have a message that you can easily communicate. It's a lot easier to communicate to people, go get vaccinated, than it is to say, let's not go to the hospital with COVID, okay? Or let's hope that you don't have to go to the hospital. That's a hard thing to communicate to the public, but it is what you need to communicate, because people have to understand that the goal is reducing the burden on the healthcare system and not simply having many tests or everybody getting vaccinated. So it's a common mistake. Now, a common mistake is making your measure a metric, as I said, like a 90% vaccination rate. What happens when you make that your metric? People think, well, we've had a 90% vaccination rate. Now I'm going out, I'm taking off my mask, I'm getting together for Christmas because I achieved the goal. I got vaccinated, and so did the rest of the population. We're all vaccinated. What happens? Well, we still have COVID. We still have overburdened healthcare. We had a big convoy protest in Ottawa. And we still have a lot of people in hospital because that wasn't the right goal. The goal was not going to the hospital, which would have required a completely different strategy around treatment rather than just achieving a certain vaccination rate. They made vaccination the metric. And then for that reason, you could no longer use it as a measure because everybody became focused on that and thinking that was the goal and not doing the right thing. Okay, so it's part strategy and part measurement. Be clear about your metric. Now, I'm not the one who invented this. You cannot use your measure as a metric. Go on to Google or Wikipedia and look up this person, Charles Goodhart. He was an economist, not an accountant, but actually there are people who say it was a fellow named Campbell who was an accountant who actually discovered this law, but he didn't publish it. So Charles Goodhart, when a measure, I mean, he was a British guy, he worded it this way on top. It's been simplified to when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And that's why when vaccination became the target, it ceased to be a good measure. You can Google Goodhart's law. It has actually become a law of accounting. When you are trying to achieve a certain metric like monetary policy, well, that's economics, but this actually came out of Margaret Thatcher's government because when she was trying to affect certain monetary policies in the United Kingdom, she mixed up her targets with her measures, and they ended up having financial collapse. What happens is things get gamed, people lose sight of what they're trying to achieve, and then the whole thing unravels. So you have to be very, very careful to distinguish between your target and the things that you measure to achieve the target. A similar things that we see in e-commerce is when people compensate vendors or employees on click rates, when really what they're trying to achieve is getting more customers and more revenue. If you game it on click rates, then you get lots of clicks, but you don't get lots of sales because that can be gamed. You can get lots of clicks without selling anything. And it's actually a completely different marketing strategy to get clicks than to get sales. So if you're getting clicks, you're actually probably not getting sales or as many sales as you could get. That's what Goodhart's law says. Okay. So the metric is carefully chosen and it never changes. Don't get your metric right, everything else will fail, including all your measurements. Issues to consider with modeling. Are there dependencies between the variables? For instance, employment and annual income. This is another one that we've seen a lot in the press. We want to get more people into the middle class. In order to be middle class, people have to have higher incomes. Once you increase higher incomes, you actually could bring down the employment rate. You need to have a separation. If your goal is to make everybody's income come up, you need strategies other than just increasing the employment rate, okay? Because otherwise you will achieve neither. Are the measures strongly correlated with the target? Marriages and births can be strongly correlated. Not everybody who has a baby is married, but there is a strong correlation. You want them to be strongly correlated, but independent. You don't have to get married in order to have a baby, at least in this country. So they are independent. Does it predict far enough into the future for planning? There's no point in using positive COVID test results to tell me how many people have COVID, because by the time they test positive, they have probably already spread it to their coworkers and their family, which is the people they're most likely to spread it to. So it's not a good leading indicator. And I'll give you some other examples of ones that you might think are good leading indicators, but they're deceptive. It has to predict far enough into the future that you can do something about it. Otherwise, it's not a very useful model. You want to be able, your measures, the leading indicators that you change are things that you have to be able to manipulate in order to get a different outcome. And if it's not offset in time enough, then you can't affect a different outcome. So you need your leading indicators to be things that you can change in order to have a valuable forecasting model. Is it repeatable and reproducible and reliable? If it only happens in Mississauga, but the rest of Ontario, or it only happens in India, where you have these incredible anomalous results, but everywhere else in the world, people are dying, then you probably want a different forecasting model, unless you only care about one place. But if, depending on what you're forecasting, it might mean that your model is off. It probably means 95% chance your model is wrong if it only works in one place, because it probably only will work in that one place for a short period of time and then it'll fall apart. So you want something that is repeatable, reproducible, reliable to know that it works. When has it changed and how will I know? How do you know? Because your measures can change. What you use to predict your target can and will change. How will you know when it is time to update your model? The metric never changes, but the measures do and can. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. I've said several times, you have to keep your model simple. Yes, you could have many, many, many measures if you wanted to, but you've got to pick them carefully because you don't want too many. You want the leading indicators. You want the ones that can affect change. Big data does not mean lots of measures. It means going deep and having a deep sample size, having a lot of people to promote your measures, your background in your measures. So this is a little cartoon. Big Browser is watching. It's a view that we have a lot that, and it's true, tech companies are watching everything we do. But there's a belief that they're doing that because it helps them build better predictive models. And I think that makes forecasters think I've got to have lots and lots and lots of different measures in order to do forecasting. Not so, okay? So I'm gonna look at another example. Back when COVID first hit, the CMHC released a study that said the housing market was gonna crash because of COVID, because we were shutting down the economy. And they were wrong, right? As everybody knows, the housing market, far from crashing, it went boom. So why did they get this so wrong? I mean, they've been predicting or doing forecasting on house prices for a long time. This was a paragraph from one of the articles. They said, essentially, statistical forecasts project the future by relying on past trends. That is true. Sometimes the predictions depend solely on the past realizations of observed indicators, such as housing prices. At other times, forecasters use additional relevant data to inform their statistical models. For example, someone might also include information about mortgage and unemployment rates when determining future house prices or sales. So, yeah, you can use many different measures in order to try and predict house prices. So here is my next poll. Which of these things, and this is just fun, guys, this is just fun. Which of these things should I use to try to predict home sales? Now there's a lot here because this is a thing about simplification, so we want to have a lot. Do you look at statements on social media, the employment rate, what kind of car people drive? I'm having a baby, so I need a bigger house. Interest rates, marital status, I'm getting married, we want to have a nice house. Immigration trends, we got people coming in, they need a place to live. New home building permits. Should we use all of these things? Or, I don't know, we have to test it. Let's do a poll. Sorry, stop sharing, go here. All right. Keep going, guys, keep going. Okay, it looks like we've stopped, so I'm gonna, anybody else, one last chance to get your vote in? Not everybody's voting. All right, so we're gonna end the poll. We had 52 people participate. The winner here was don't know, have to test it. Hey, you guys are getting good. Interest rates, which is, kind of current these days. Okay, that's very good. Oh, so I'm sharing the results. Sorry. So here are the results that you guys had. The number one that you guys chose was don't know, have to test it. Hurrah, that is the right answer. Interest rates a little bit current. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what the right answer was first. Don't know, have to test it. Yay, you guys. Hey, see, we're making progress. This is great. Now, the second best, if you don't, well, I mean, you need to test it. Okay, there's no rhyme or reason. Now, we did a study at the same time that the CMHC did at ASI on the house prices, and we saw that house prices were going to boom, and we used statements on social media. Okay, because that's pretty good. If people are saying, I'm going to buy a house and look at the pictures of the houses I'm looking at, whatever, that was a good leading indicator, but you have to test that. Okay, so it's not necessarily a slam dunk. It's not that these other things aren't true. But, statements on social media, a lot of people will be on social media saying, I'm not going to buy a house because of the interest rates, right? So you will get that kind of information if you do it sampling, if you properly sample on social media. But the real answer is, yeah, you need to test it. Okay. So keep it simple. Charlatans will tell you, though, if you're working in management, you'll have vendors come to you and say, we track everything about individuals. We know what newspaper they read. We know who they married. We know what wine they drink. We know this and that and the other thing. Not only is that creepy and, well, it's just creepy. It actually doesn't work. You have to have a simple model. You don't want to put too much in your model. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. So be selective about your measures. Pick the best ones. And the rest are levers. You might use them for weighting. I put Cambridge Analytica up here because they were an example of a company, drove me crazy. They got so much press. Oh, we tracked everything about people. We had 2,000 points of data on people. Now, they were rightly pilloried for breach of privacy. That's what they were guilty of. But no, they did not predict Donald Trump. They actually worked for Ted Cruz before, and Ted Cruz didn't become president. They only ended up with Donald Trump because he was the last candidate, and they were working for the Republicans, so they got passed along. But their work was not predictive. They did not have algorithms. They used very old school things, and you know that they're not doing predictive just based on the fact that they're collecting 2,000 data points. You cannot do prediction with 2,000 data points. This is something we have known since the time of Newton. Okay. The next thing you can Google is the three-body problem. The three-body problem was first discovered by another Brit, Isaac Newton, many centuries ago. And what he said was, I can track the motion of any two bodies moving under their mutual gravitation. I can track, if all we had in the universe was the Earth and the Moon, I could track them with absolute precision. But once you add a third planet, body, asteroid, what have you, it becomes too chaotic to track. I can track two things. I cannot track three. And this was a genius who said that. So the disturbances in the motion of one of the bodies disturbs the others in unpredictable ways. And that's why, well, perfect is the enemy of the good, and why you want to keep it simple. The three-body problem says, if you have too many things in your model, they're actually bumping into each other. So if I'm trying to predict the sale of baby carriages, and I'm looking at how many babies and how many moms like to go for walks, and how many babies are allergic, don't like to be in cold weather, or how many babies need fresh air, or what, they're all bumping into it. You're double counting, you're triple counting. These things affect each other. It just becomes too chaotic to measure. And you end up with what we call the three-body problem. It's not just true in physics, it is true in any kind of forecasting. That's why when Neil Armstrong was landing the shuttle on the moon, he's calculating probabilities of where the right spot to land will be so that he doesn't crash and kill his shuttle. If you've ever gone to NASA and listened to Neil Armstrong as he's about to land on the moon, you will know that he almost didn't land successfully on the moon. That's why space travel is so difficult, because we can never calculate with absolute precision how things are moving in space. We can have probabilities, okay? And you want to keep it simple in order to do those types of forecasting. Not to belabor it, but creating a model is like good cooking. A chef doesn't just throw everything from the spice rack into the pot. He's picking and choosing depending on what he's trying to achieve with his recipe. So forecasting best practices, there's a difference between metrics and measures. I keep repeating, but I'm trying to hammer it home. Understand the difference between the measures and the levers. If it's not perfect, or if it's not a good, clear measure, put it down as a lever. Simplify and generalize. You need to have a general model that will work under different conditions. And that's the problem when the three-body problem. If you have too many measures, you're really measuring a very narrow thing. You cannot do a good prediction model because you've got too much going on. Hard to explain. So here's another poll, loyalty cards. Acme Grocery Store has 5 years of customer loyalty data on its customers. This allows Acme to predict what you will buy the next time you're at the store. So I'm going to bring up the poll for this one. Can Acme use their 5 years of customer loyalty data to predict exactly what you will buy the next time you're at the store? Okay. Okay, it looks like we still got people voting. Cool. Got more people in this one than the last one. Oh, people are still voting. Good, good. Okay, I'm going to end and share. So the majority of you said false, and that is correct. They're not able to use their loyalty card data to predict with good precision, which is why loyalty cards are good for loyalty. Loyalty cards are good for loyalty. People will keep coming, but mostly because you're giving them bonuses and things like that. They wanted to use it for predicting, but the problem is there's too much data in the loyalty card data. So people, and 5 years, by the way, this is where I really messed with you. And I said 5 years, because I always get customers coming wanting to give me their 5-year-old data. It's garbage. 5-year-old data. I mean, depending on what it is I'm trying to measure, sometimes 30 days, the data is too old. Okay. So 5 years is just way too old. Things change. So people's tastes change. I mean, my tastes have changed as I've aged. And I mean, like literally my taste buds have changed. Household changes. Kids don't like this. Kids don't like that. Okay. I'm changing my brands now. Style, a celebrity has endorsed something. The prices, maybe what I buy is based on how much you're charging, and the loyalty card data doesn't tell me if that was my decision-making process. If a new product comes out, there's competition, that might change how I feel about different brands. Bad service at the store that day could make me not buy what I was intending to buy even. That's why marketing is still a lucrative industry, because how we market does influence how you buy. Not just, well, I bought this bread last week, so I'm going to buy this bread every week. So you have to figure out as a brand manager, what is it that attracts people to your brand, and really make sure that you're marketing well to that. If it's price, then you have to have the best price at all times, which is a lot of work to do to make sure that you're always the best price in the store. If it's for other things, then you have to make sure that you maximize those other things and market it. But loyalty card data, very, very expensive to run. It's about 2 to 3% of gross revenue. So do it if it gets more people into your store and it keeps them buying with you. And if the perks the perks have to be good, like airline perks, they give you the lounge, they give you the best seating, they give you free airline points, that keeps people loyal. It's a different mix when it comes to grocery stores and whether or not those loyalty cards work, and they're expensive. So you want to make sure that it's worth it for you. So attribution will guide you to a leading indicator. Here's going to be the challenge going forward in business. We're not allowed to have cookies anymore, so you can't track who visits except if they come from Google and you get Google Analytics. Ordering through Google Home, Alexa, and Siri, this means that you'll have less data on your e-commerce site. And as people go to Amazon or what have you, if you're not working for Amazon, if people aren't coming to your site, you don't have accurate information about your sales. Amazon might have it, Google might have it, but you don't have it. So how do you get it? If you don't have data on when the purchases are made and delivered, then you're in trouble. So you'll very quickly need a better way to track your customer journey. Now, notice all of these things that I've put up here are transactional data. That's what a lot of business people use. They use their sales data to do their forecasting. But the problem is you'll quickly find out when you go and work, unless you work in retail, you don't have the sales data. And even if you do work in retail in the future, because of the way things are moving in the world, with things being purchased increasingly through places like Amazon or what have you, you might never have the sales data. So what do? Well, you should never be using sales data anyway. So the good news for you is there's a better way, and that's attribution. Okay. So if we look at the sales funnel, conversion is actually a lagging indicator. Once I've decided to buy your product, that's not a leading indicator. It's not predictive. I've already bought it. I'm here at the cash register. I'm buying it. Let me give you a good example of that. We were recruited or hired by a lingerie company, which I won't name, that had a catastrophic drop in its sales. Now, what had happened at this company 18 months, a year and a half prior, 2 years prior, they changed CEOs. And what happens when a new CEO comes in, they always want to make a big splash. So the new CEO said, look, most of the customers for this market that we have right now are young women. And there's a whole market out there of women who are dating for the second time. They've got divorced or their spouse died, and now they want to get back into the lingerie market, or maybe they just feel like getting back into lingerie. And we're not getting those customers. So we need to we can expand our market if we get those customers. Great. So they changed their marketing to appeal to older women. And it worked in the beginning. Their sales went up. They were doing great. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And then all of a sudden, 18 months later, it's like, boom, they lost all of their customers. They didn't have the young women. They didn't have the older women. We went in and we looked like, what happened? Well, this is what happened. Young women are shopping at the lingerie store. They look across the aisle and there's mom also buying the same lingerie. That's not appealing to a young woman in her 20s to know that mom, who's 40 or 50, is also wearing that lingerie. Okay. It doesn't make her feel sexy. Doesn't feel like it's in style. So she looks at that and goes, oh, I think I'm going to go shop for my lingerie somewhere else. And then mom, the 40, 50-year-old, hears from her daughter, oh yeah, I don't shop there anymore. Yeah, no, that's really gaudy. That place is, they don't have nice lingerie. Well, mom, who's getting back on the dating market, she doesn't want to be going to the gaudy store. So she's following her daughter over to the new place. Okay. So this was very similar to, remember Lululemon saying, we don't want overweight people, buying our pants. He probably did a similar study. The difference was he publicized that, which is bad for his brand. This other group just quietly stopped having products that older women would want. No more push-up bras, no more size C. They literally got rid of that and were going after a svelte woman, and their sales went back up. Okay, so attribution, by the time people don't come to the cash register, it's a bit too late. Attribution tells you what people are saying about your brand before they make a buying decision at the awareness stage. And luckily at the awareness stage, hopefully you can track them better. Now you need new ways of tracking. Like I said, again, if they're not coming to your e-commerce site, you have to have ways to either bring people to your site or have ways of measuring. And social media is a good way of measuring. But all that to say, you do need to be at the awareness stage. You do need to be there. You need to be surveying your customers and talking to them early in the process. Now, a lot of people fall prey to what I call what is called the fallacy of last touch. Again, you can Google that. People will say, oh, person came to my website from Google, therefore Google is where I should be advertising because that's where everybody hears about my brand. No, Google is the last place they went to find your website. They might have heard about your website on the radio. Maybe they were driving home and they heard about, an amazing offer that you have, but they couldn't remember the name of your company. They remember some things about the ad that they heard. So they go into Google and they say, ad that has 50% off chicken dinner or what have you. And that's how they found your website. The problem is if you think it all came from Google and then you stop your radio advertising because you think it's not working. No, it's that you didn't have a way of measuring that. It was working, but you're measuring only the last thing that got somebody to your site, which may not have been the motivation for them coming there. Okay, so you do have to really, that's why prediction is so hard. It's not that it's impossible, but you have to be able to measure at that early stage so that you make the right decisions all the way through the funnel from when they hear about you down to when they convert. So leading indicators are at the top of the funnel. They are hard to measure. They change. So you have to keep on it. You have to be rigorously testing. And they have to, again, I want to reiterate, be independent of each other, causal dependence with the target, offset in time. Now, not to toot the horn here, but AI really is the best tool for that because of how complex it is. Yes, you're simplifying your measures, but you have to get those measures. And those measures are, and because they are changing, you have to be able to measure them accurately at the right time and to know when they're changing. And AI is the best tool that I know for doing that. Now, AI has its issues. Okay. This is a little fun cartoon for this time of year. You have to guide your AI. It's not a magic pill that you take and the AI goes and does all the forecasting. This is a mistake that people have. You as the manager have to decide what the metric is and what the measure is going to be, but you have to be able to learn to read the data that is produced for you so you can make good decisions. This is another kind of funny machine learning. All that to say that machine learning depends on training and the data that you give the AI, the data that you allow it to look at. If you're only using the AI, for example, from Amazon, and you're using that to make all of your product decisions, will understand that Amazon might not have the same goals that you have. Okay. Google might not have the same goals that you have. Facebook might not have the same goals as you have. You need to set your own goals and metrics and measures to achieve what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to get people to your site and to your product, not to somebody else's. Okay, well, that's up to you to decide, but you need to be very much in charge of it. AIs are dependent on the information you give them. Okay, I'm going to give you, I think this is my last poll. Is this a good leading indicator? Temperatures are up, so ice cream sales will increase. I'm going to launch that. Temperatures are increasing, so ice cream sales will also increase. And normally I do this stuff in class, so I can just do a show of hands, or whatever. Maybe this is better because it would be anonymous. Keep going, keep going. Okay, not as many people participated in this one. Let's share the results. Now, I think it's true that when temperatures increase, people will buy more ice cream and popsicles and water and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, but it is not a good leading indicator. I'm going to tell you why. Oh, yes, I'm going to tell you why. The problem with, and this is one I didn't actually say. So I did say that measures have to be very concrete. In this case, you're using a forecast as a measure. Remember, you don't really want to be using a forecast, because forecasts are themselves a little bit, they're not solid measurements. I mean, if you've ever listened to your weatherman, you'll know that weather predictions are not too solid, and you want to have as solid a measure as you possibly can. So you want to try to avoid having a forecast as your measure. That's like having a metric as a measure. The other problem, though, with the temperature is that it's not a good leading indicator, because it doesn't give the vendor enough time to stock up on his ice cream. If the temperature soars, now weather forecasts are good, maybe like they get better the closer you are to the day. So if I'm buying my ice cream, I probably need a few days to get stocked up, to know that there's going to be a surge on Tuesday. And the weather doesn't give me enough time. Maybe it gives me 3 days. Is that enough time? Maybe if you have a very good supplier. But chances are the deliveries come kind of once a week, and I can't predict a week in advance with good accuracy. And the problem is, if I don't get it right, then I've got way too much ice cream. And usually you have to get the best prices, really give more than like a day's notice. So, I mean, I suppose I could run across the street and buy it from the next guy, but it's not the best leading indicator, mainly because you've got a forecast to do a forecast. Okay. So it's hard, is what I'm trying to say, to get those measures right. So forecasting is becoming essential. It will be harder for new brands to break through because of auto ordering. So being able to find other measures and to be able to forecast will be even more important, and having good ways of forecasting, because you don't have that sales data. I can't advance my slides now. Okay. Understanding attribution, therefore, is going to be a lot more important. You need advanced warning in order to plan, in order to stock up. We're seeing all these supply chain issues now. You see how hard it is once your supply chain gets gummed up. Now, not only are you, do you not have good leading indicators, but you can't sell anything because you don't have it. Okay. So it's not even just a matter of figuring out why people want to buy your product and marketing accordingly. You can't even sell it because you don't have it. Your competitors are doing it. Okay, so competitors are understanding how to do, and are increasingly using AI and other tools to do forecasting well. So that's why you need to be doing it. So some principles: pick a metric that is important and won't change. Looks like I got something wrong with my animation here. So remember, the target doesn't change. Right? If it changes, then you're throwing everything out the door and starting fresh. Separation of measures and targets, Goodhart's law. If your measure is how many people get vaccinated, then the goal cannot be getting vaccinated. You have to have a different goal. Measures and metrics are separated. Measures are leading indicators, and there are few of them. find measures through attribution. If you can't measure it, you can still use it as a lever. You can still use it in your marketing. You can still use it to weight things. Just don't make it your leading measure. And keep it simple. Pick only the measures that are going to give you good results, and everything else becomes a lever. So that's my presentation. I'm a little bit over time. If you enjoy this type of content, like I said, this was scratching the surface. I do post at Poly ASI, which is our corporate Twitter account, and on Erin Kelly AI. I often will post things on data and prediction. It's not always on prediction, but data and data science. So if you find this type of stuff interesting, follow me there, and follow me on LinkedIn if you're there. I post there as well. So that's it, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, wonderful, Erin. That was really interesting and really turned things upside down for me for sales forecasting and big data. You know, I think one thing I got out of that was less is more. So I'm just thinking, so you said like time-wise, you know, maybe 30 days is better than 5 years because things change. And then you said fewer measures are better. And then you said simple models. And when we think of big data, we think, hey, it's tons of data available to us, history-wise, different, you know, breadth-wise, we can have a ton of data about how people behave. But what you're saying, it's really less is more. So it's sort of contra to big data. So it's like, I guess, going deep. You said that, I think. Go deep. Pick something simple and go deep, as
Yes.
opposed to spreading too thin.
Exactly. Like that's what we mean by big data. What we mean is, like, in our sample sizes, for example, for the election, we had 300,000 people, but we weren't looking at 2,000 things about 300,000 people. We were looking at one or two things that and we don't collect names or anything, by the way, so there's no privacy breach. The AI is just looking for certain things that will indicate how the election is going to go, or how COVID, I mentioned that we do COVID tracking. The way we do COVID tracking is Polly reads the wastewater data, and then she does a mobility pattern after that. Now, we're not using that we're using that to look at spread. That is different from how many cases will be reported, but we're looking at that to say, in this region, COVID is spreading more than in other regions. And she has been extremely accurate with wastewater data, much more accurate than with testing data or contact testing.
Removes the bias. Everybody's emitting into the wastewater system, whether they like it or not. Right. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, we have a good question from Bing Cheng Wang. I'm going to ask if you want to unmute yourself, Bing Cheng, or I can ask the question for you. Maybe I will just ask it if you're not there. So it says, I have a question about issues of models page. When you say, how has it changed? How will I know? What does that mean?
Yeah, so for example, when I was talking about so for your model, how will you know when the measure that you're using to predict your sales or what have you, how will you know when that measure is no longer the right measure? So for example, with the CMHC example that I use for house sales, they had been using employment rates, and they thought, oh, well, employment is going down because of COVID. Like a lot of people had lost their jobs because of COVID, and therefore house prices or housing sales are going to go down. The problem was that a lot of the people who lost their jobs during COVID were not in the housing market to begin with, because a lot of it was service jobs, part-timers, you know, that sort of, and people who maybe couldn't afford a house at that time. And also a lot of those people got served. So they still had the money to be able to buy a house. And a lot of people moved from the city to the country. So there was a lot going on, and all that to say that their measure, employment rates, was no longer predictive of house sales. So it might have been in the past, it might have been true that when employment rates go up, house sales go down, but it changed during COVID, and they were not able to, they did not see that had changed. And so they just went out with the old model, and their model was wrong. and it had pretty embarrassing consequence. I mean, the CEO of the organization resigned over that, right? So big consequences.
Thank you. Okay, and Mary's got a question. She's asking, is this, I'm not sure if it's this, the whole thing that you've just presented, is this also true for genomic and bioscience research?
Yes, it is. So when you're doing, now I'm not a genomic person, but I know that my, for work that we've done with in healthcare and things like that, that it's the same principles. You have to keep your predictive models simple. It's a science principle. So they do the same thing in physics. They do the same thing in biology. Keep it simple. And that's why a lot of people, if you were online, you were in the science community, you saw that when the government started promoting vaccination as this is what we all need to do, people started banging their head and saying, Goodhart's law, Goodhart's law. Like everybody was in the scientific community was upset because the target had changed. And once they changed the target, what happens? We're 3 years into it and we still have high hospitalization rates because of COVID, but also other things, but it's because we took our eye off.
Fascinating. Okay, another question. My question is regarding only using recent data and not stale data, as well as a lot of times we hear that big data needs a lot of computation and more data. It's interesting. You often do hear that you need more data to get your algorithm to actually maybe a machine learning to train it. You need way more data. So
I would say you need deep data. So yes, more, but not breadth. This is for prediction, of course, right? So so we go deep. Like I said, we have 300,000 people in our sample in Canada. And that was key to us being able to predict the election. If we only had 1,500 people, then we would not be able to get trends across ethnic groups, age, because different people there are different levers that influence how you vote. They're not even levers, they're measures, like ethnicity does and age does impact how you vote. Okay. So we don't want to have just, one person of Asian descent in our sample. We want to have a lot so we can see the trend. So it's going deep on our trends, but we're not sitting there looking at, well, what car do you drive? Like this is one of the things Cambridge Analytica said when they did by knowing what car people drive, we were able to predict what party they vote for. Nonsense, absolute nonsense. If you're using that, like I can predict elections and we don't know what car people are. We can find out what cars people drive, but it's not important to predicting the election. There are very few things that matter. Past data does matter because there are people who just vote for the same party unless something really scandalous happens. If you remember in 2019, brownface happened in that election, and that's what took Trudeau from a majority to a minority. But it's important to go deep, but it's not important to have 2,000 measures. Pick a few and go deep with them and make sure that they're solid.
So deep data, big data. Yeah, like that. Okay, Bing Cheng has a follow-up. So this was about, let me just go back. That was the models when things change, how will I know? So he had a follow-up here. He or she are saying, so does that mean that we need to, oops, I've lost it now. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So does that mean we need to reiterate the tests of leading indicators?
Yes, that's what it means. And especially when you have things so you look at your measures that you're using and be very cognizant of them. And when something has impacted that measure, for example, like with the CMHC, employment, the pandemic was a stressor on that measure. So they should have reevaluated that as a measurement, because this was not normal unemployment. This was unemployment where, first of all, a lot of money was being given out by the government that compensated in large part people's incomes. It was temporary unemployment. It wasn't like the kind of unemployment that we're having now, where you're being let go and it's permanent. These were more like furloughs. And so you need to test the assumptions. Now, if you have a product, for a consumer product, another thing would be when a competitor comes in. When a competitor comes in, the measure for what makes your brand successful might change. So You should be testing it regularly regardless, but especially when there is something that could put a stressor on your model, then you should doubly make sure that you're verifying that you're using the right measures.
Good. And then another one from Mary, your comment about having to train the models is kind of different than the machine learning computer programmers who are making claims of sentience.
Yeah, claims is the right word. We're getting better and better. And there are some AIs that can use data in the environment to train, but it's still training, but you don't have to train it. So we are making progress in that space, but with those ones, you might have a higher error rate, and you have to be cognizant, especially with prediction, of how much error you will. I mean, you're going to have more error in a prediction model anyway. That's another thing I forgot to mention. If you are doing predictive analytics, an 80% confidence interval is good. 95%, that's a bit of a game that people use when they say 95%. I'll give you an example. I can tell you with 95% accuracy that tomorrow it will be cold. I can tell you with 80% accuracy, we're going to have a snowstorm. Okay, so the more useful information I am giving you, it's not very useful to tell you that tomorrow it's going to be chilly. Okay, because you don't really need to hire me to tell you that. But it requires more intelligence to tell you that tomorrow we're going to have a snowstorm or we're not, right? Because if you're driving to Toronto, if you're driving somewhere, you might want to know that. So, but I can tell you that with 80% confidence. It's still useful, it's still good, and it's great for making decisions, business decisions. But to the original question, what was the original? Oh, machine learning. Yeah, I mean, they're still learning. AIs learn. It's like we all learn. Some people learn faster than others. Some learn in different ways. Some AIs have some innovation in learning, but they still need to be trained on something. And I was off giving a talk. I'll give you an example. I was giving a talk in Europe 2 weeks ago at the to the Council of Europe, and they were looking at AI for elections, like machine counting and all that. And I see this misperception all the time. They had this they had I think it was England that was in there, and they said they're not going to use machine accounting anymore because they took this AI, and the AI was supposed to read signatures of people who voted, because you sign your chit and then you put it in. And they found out on election day that the chit, it worked really, really well if you had a British name or an English name, but if you had a Chinese name or something and you're signing your name with a non-Anglo name or German name, Italian, it wasn't catching. It didn't catch accents. It didn't catch any of that. So it was useless. And I said, listen, guys, it's your job as the manager to understand that you must train or ensure that because they were blaming the vendor, to ensure that you have trained the AI on non-Anglo signatures. I mean, you know what the census data is for England. You know that not everybody in England has a British name. So, you know, this is not the fault of the AI or the vendor. It worked really well on the data you trained it on, the Anglo data. So you need to make sure as a manager that you understand that AIs need to be trained, and you ask those questions. Hey, if I'm Polish, is it going to work? Oh, no, not if you're Polish. Okay, well, you know, that's a problem because 5% of our people are Polish. So this is an issue that managers have to understand. You have to ask these questions. You don't want to get to voting day and find out that your technology blows up. And one of the guys from Brazil said, I'm really sad for you, England, that you are not going to do this, because in my country, machine voting actually brought up the participation rate because people had more faith. It was gamed before when we had scrutineers reading the ballots and that people were cheating. You know, political parties were gaming the system, and people knew that. And so they didn't vote because they said, why bother? There's no integrity in this vote. So he said, you know, there are unintended consequences of deciding not to adopt this technology. So it was really interesting.
Interesting indeed. Okay, William, what about having a machine verify and pick the leading measures versus manually?
No, well, for now at least, and probably forever, you want to have a human being knowing the training data and knowing how the algorithm works. Because like I said, there's unintended consequences, like with the voting machine. And we've had things for example, you've probably all heard about AI and recidivism rates in prisons, right? Deciding that, oh, Black prisoners are more likely to re-offend, so we won't let them out. You don't let the AI make that decision. It's not because the AI is bad or that the algorithm is wrong. It's because the algorithm was fed past data, which you do need to do, but you need to be careful of what you feed. You want, again, this comes down to measures. If you just say, here are all the people who committed crimes, and your prison population is overrepresented in certain ethnic groups, then the AI is going to say, well, these people are more likely to commit a crime or to reoffend. That's not a good measure, actually. Income, like poverty, growing up in poverty, there's all sorts of good measures for offending. You want to take out, you want to make sure you're feeding the AI a balance of race and what have you, so that you're not biasing it. So you always right now have to have a person looking at these things.
And I think Mary's got a follow-up question about, is part of the problem with all this that people don't really have a good foundation in math and science. It's kind of like a black box to many of us.
Yes, and that's why I'm doing these talks, for example, because I see it all the time when I'm out with customers, what have you. Like customers want to give me their 5-year-old data, as I mentioned, or they tell me. I had one. I was in a meeting with one, and I had a partner, right? And the partner brought this customer, and we told them it was 80% confidence on their sales, and because they had a very specific thing, they were a very niche product, okay? And the partner said, well, at our company, we believe in 95%, but ASI has a good track record. So, and I'm like, listen, nobody's going to give you quality information predictive in a niche market at 95%. Like, you need to understand how math works in order to make good decisions. Because when you look at 95% confidence intervals, like in elections, a lot of the polling data in the newspapers, their margin of error is huge on some of these things, right? They're saying that, like, there's a 95% confidence that the government will get, or that the Liberals will get, between 85 and 130 seats. Okay, well, anybody can kind of give you that, but I can tell you with 80% confidence that it'll be between 150 and 155, right? And my margin of error is going to be a lot lower. I want to know that it's going to be between 150 and 155, and not that it's going to be between 80 and 130. Okay, because that's not really helping. Sometimes it's like it could even be a minority government. So they're not even predicting that. So you want to understand what all of these things mean. You don't have to understand everything, but you want to understand you want to understand the basics, so that when a vendor comes to you and says, my algorithm's the best because it does 2,000 measures, your alarm bell should be going off. That's an indication that they don't know what the right measures are, and that's why they've got 2,000.
Wonderful. Well, I think we've got most of those questions, and I see that we're getting to the end of our time, Erin, and we thought we wouldn't use the whole 90 minutes, but here we are, right down to the wire.
I obviously didn't predict that very well.
But I just want to say thank you so much. It's incredible every time I listen to you, and I've worked with you before. You are you have an incredible amount of insight and wisdom in this area, and you have a way of bringing it into the practical realm, so that we can take that, that underlying math and science, and use it for something that we can make better decisions, for. So thank you very much. So let's give Erin a hand, and I just want to say thank you, everyone, for attending today. This is the first of our series. Go to our website. We have a number of amazing presentations lined up, so love to see you again. And yeah, thanks again, Erin, and have a good day, everyone.
Great. Thanks, everyone.